Hello there. I'm so glad you're here. Have you ever felt that quiet hum of possibility, that gentle nudge towards something more? It's a feeling we all experience, a whisper from our own potential. Sometimes life throws us curveballs, and it's easy to get caught in the current feeling a little lost or overwhelmed. But what if I told you that within you lies an incredible capacity to navigate those challenges and emerge even stronger? It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging the bumps in the road and choosing to learn from them. Think about a time you overcame something difficult. Remember that surge of resilience, that quiet confidence that bloomed. That power is always with you. It's in the small, consistent steps you take, the moments you choose kindness towards yourself, and the courage to try again, even when it feels daunting. We often underestimate the impact of our own inner dialogue. The way we speak to ourselves can either build us up or chip away at our spirit. Cultivating a more compassionate and encouraging inner voice is a powerful act of self-care. It's about recognizing your worth, not based on external validation, but on the simple fact of your existence and your unique journey. Embracing this journey of growth doesn't require grand gestures. It's in the daily choices. Choosing to prioritize your well-being, seeking out supportive connections, and allowing yourself the grace to be human. Every small victory, every moment of self-awareness is a testament to your strength. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate you taking this time for yourself. If you found this helpful, consider following along for more insights and encouragement. When people imagine the fall of Rome, they imagine barbarians breaking down gates, legions shattered, or emperors poisoned in marble palaces. But empires don't collapse solely from external damage. They perish from within, and one of the most destructive factors is always money. Rome didn't collapse simply because of war or corruption. It collapsed because its currency was destroyed, and the lessons of that collapse are still relevant for any modern economy that thinks it can get away with playing games with money. Let's set the stage. For centuries, the economic backbone of Rome was the silver denarius, first minted around 201 BC. The denarius was nearly pure silver, trusted throughout the empire and beyond. Roman soldiers received their wages in denarius, merchants demanded it, and ordinary people stored their wealth in it. The denarius wasn't just money, it was a trust in its metal form. The empire's power and the value of the coin were intertwined. People believed in Rome as much as they believed in its currency. But ruling an empire was extremely demanding and expensive. Legions had to be paid, roads and aqueducts had to be built, and wars had to be financed. By the 2nd century BC, Rome was weakened by the threat of defending its borders against Germanic tribes, the Parthians in the east, and internal unrest. Tax revenues weren't enough to keep up with military expenditures. So the emperors resorted to the trick of the century, debasement. Instead of taxing their citizens more heavily, a never popular practice, they reduced the silver content of the denarius. The numbers tell the story. During the reign of Emperor Augustus, who reigned at the dawn of the empire, the denarius contained approximately 95% silver. During Caracalla's reign in the early 3rd century, this had fallen by half. By the mid-3rd century, during the reign of Emperor Gallienus, the denarius contained less than 5% silver. Coins once made of solid metal had been replaced by silver-plated bronze. The public could see and feel the difference. Inflation then followed, and prices soared because money no longer had any real value. A measure of wheat that once cost 1 denarius suddenly cost dozens. This wasn't just an abstract theory. It was already devastating the lives of ordinary Romans. Soldiers demanded higher wages to cover their rising expenses. Merchants refused to accept the debased coins, preferring instead to barter or pay in gold instead of denarii. Local economies reverted to direct trade due to the now untrusted currency. With trust waning, emperors continued to mint cheaper coins, hoping that quantity would replace value. This vicious cycle, and it has been repeated in countless inflations ever since. The crisis reached its peak during what became known as the crisis of the 3rd century. Between 235 and 284 CE, Rome experienced a nearly 50-year period of scandal. Wars, plagues, civil wars, and economic collapse. Emperors rose and fell at a dizzying pace. Some were assassinated within months of ascending to the throne. Behind the political drama lay a broken financial system. Taxes had to be paid with increasingly devalued coins. Farmers fled their lands rather than pay. Trade networks collapsed. The Roman government resorted to desperate measures to keep the system afloat, such as price controls and forced labor. None worked. One emperor, Diocletian, tried to stem the tide. In 301 AD, he issued the Edict of Maximum Prices, which fixed the prices of thousands of goods and services, from grain to workers' wages. Those who flouted the rules were punishable by death. But this edict was nothing but a disaster. When money was nothing, prices could not be controlled by fiat. And they could not. The black market exploded and official trade almost ceased. The public soon learned that a law and a coin that constantly lost its value could not create a valuable currency. Finally, Rome abandoned the denarius. Around 312 AD, Constantine the Great introduced the solidus, a gold coin of consistent purity. This brought some stability and lasted for centuries in the Byzantine, Eastern Roman Empire. By then, however, the Western Empire had been fatally weakened. The devaluation of the denarius had eroded Rome's economic core. Armies were unsustainable, trade networks were broken, and trust was lost. Rome's collapse was not a single event, but a long process of disintegration. And the collapse of the currency was one of the sharpest threads of this disintegration. So what does this mean for us today? The destruction of money always means the destruction of empires. Rome thought it could deceive its people by minting identical coins of less valuable metal. Modern governments think they can do the same by printing money, manipulating interest rates, or eroding debt through inflation. But the result is always the same. The people pay the price, wealth is destroyed, and trust collapses. Rome learned this lesson the hard way. If we ignore it, we will suffer the same fate. History hasn't stopped teaching with Rome. Every major inflationary crisis since then has followed the same pattern. Governments devalue currency to cover their expenses. Elites protect themselves with real assets, and ordinary people become impoverished. Rome's currency crisis is only the first full-scale example, a scheme for collapse. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into the incredible power of text reading. It's more than just looking at words on a page. It's a gateway to understanding, empathy, and growth. Think about it. Every book, every article, every message you read is a chance to step into someone else's shoes, to learn something new, or to simply escape for a while. When we truly engage with text, we're not just processing information. We're building connections. We're expanding our perspectives and fostering a deeper understanding of the world around us. The beauty of reading lies in its accessibility. With just a text, you can travel to distant lands, explore complex ideas, or even discover hidden parts of yourself. It's a personal journey, and each word you absorb contributes to your own unique narrative. So, let's embrace the art of text reading. Let's commit to engaging with what we read, to questioning, to reflecting, and to allowing the words to shape us in positive ways. It's a simple act with profound implications for our personal development and our connection to others. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this encourages you to pick up a text and truly immerse yourself in its message. Fast forward a century, the repercussions are deafening. After World War I, Germany faced crushing reparations under the Treaty of Versailles. The government began printing marks to pay off its debts, thinking it could cover the debt with paper just as Rome had minted more coins. By 1923, hyperinflation had broken out. A loaf of bread worth 1 mark before the war was selling for over 200 billion marks by the end of that year. People were hauling their pensions home in wheelbarrows. Retirees were starving as their life savings evaporated. Just as in Rome, Those in debt were liberated by inflation, while those with real assets like land, factories, or foreign currency emerged stronger. Money lost its meaning, and economic desperation fueled the political extremes that paved the way for Hitler's rise. Zimbabwe followed suit in the early 2000s. Faced with land seizures, falling production, and mounting debt, the government began printing money. By 2008, inflation reached a staggering 89.7% sextillion annually. Prices were doubling daily. Markets couldn't keep up with the price changes. Eventually, Zimbabwe abandoned its own currency entirely, and citizens were forced to trade in US dollars or South African rand. Another government thought it could deceive reality. Again, the public paid the price. But one needn't even look at the extremes. Even in modern developed economies, the Roman model lives on. Consider the United States. In 1971, President Richard Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard, severing its currency from any tangible backing. From that moment on, the dollar became what economists call fiat money, a currency backed not by gold but by trust in the government. And just as in Rome, the temptation to spend beyond one's means became irresistible. In the decades that followed, debt ballooned, the money supply expanded, and inflation became a constant problem. We may no longer carry cash in wheelbarrows, but our purchasing power is steadily eroding. What was bought for $1 in 1971 cost more than $6 today. The coins look the same. The banknotes are the same, but the value has been drained from within. Government's trick is always the same. Disguise inflation as growth. They tell citizens that rising wages mean prosperity, when in fact costs are rising faster. They present debt as investment, when in fact it finances consumption. They present rising stock markets as proof of wealth, when the majority don't even own stocks. Like the Roman emperors, they quietly extract value from every coin, every banknote, every paycheck, while pretending nothing has changed. The danger today is the global scale. Rome's collapse was an empire-wide crisis. Weimar's hyperinflation was national. Zimbabwe's was local. But today, the entire world operates with fiat currencies, massive debts, and central banks ready to print trillions. This means the next collapse won't be confined to a single empire. It will reverberate globally. And as history has shown, those who suffer will not be the wealthy elite, but the millions who rely on their salaries, pensions, and increasingly fragile currencies. So, what should you learn from Rome's currency crisis as an individual? First, inflation isn't an accident. It's a policy. It's the silent tax that has brought down empires for 2 millennia. Second, true wealth isn't in numbers on paper or on a screen, but in assets that retain their value even when money is worthless. Land, skills, productive enterprises, resources. Third, never assume stability is permanent. First-century Romans would have laughed if told their coins would one day be worthless. Germans in 1913 would have scoffed if they had heard they would have to transport money in wheelbarrows. It's awash in cash. In the 1980s, Zimbabweans thought their independence promised prosperity. Yet the same story unfolded in every case. The fall of Rome reminds us that financial systems can collapse, first slowly, then suddenly as trust evaporates. When money becomes intangible, society itself begins to unravel. Contracts are broken, trade collapses, armies disintegrate, and governments lose their legitimacy. The barbarians at the gate may get the job done, but the real killer is always inside the treasury. And here's the kicker. History doesn't repeat itself, but if you don't understand it, it will still crush you. The Roman currency crisis wasn't just about evil emperors or greedy elites. It was about the fragility of money when abused by power, and that fragility has never disappeared. If this has given you a new perspective, subscribe. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.